can't bring 47.
Well, good evening. Welcome everybody to our work session for the month of October. Appreciate all of you being here. We don't usually have a big crowd, and we're glad to have one with us. And you don't have to leave after your part of the program's over. You can stay for the whole meeting if you'd like to. We'll enjoy having you and try not to bore you to death. But again, we welcome you with us. At the beginning of our meetings, we have a moment of silence, and we invite you to join with us, please. And remember those on the coast that are still straightening things out, and still remember families down in Townville. So if you would join us for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. First off, we'll have Mr. Norzan we'll start with you. If you want to bring your student up, you have a student that's going to lead us in the pledge. And let him stand up here so he can be sure he gets on camera too, so he'll be on tape. If you'll introduce him.
All right, this is Chris Singletary, and we'll let him say the pledge, and I'll tell you a little bit about it.
All right, y'all join us. Chris, you lead us.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm a reader, because I'll forget to say what I've got to say, so I'm going to come over here, if that's all right. This is Christian Singletary. Christian is one of our 5th grade Cougar Helper students at TSE. He's a member of our morning news team, and he's really just an outstanding young man who works hard to lead by example. Some of the things about Christian: he's a Boy Scout with Troop 125, and over last spring break, and this is just something really impressive for a 4th grader at the time, he hiked 50 miles of the Foothills Trail. And wow. He used his spring break time to do this, which I was just so impressed with that. He just completed 18 more miles of the Foothills Trail, and he will complete all 77 miles by the end of this year. So that is a pretty awesome accomplishment for a young man. Chris also volunteers with the Golden Corner Food Pantry and Our Daily Rest. Outside of school and Boy Scouts, Chris plays soccer for the Westminster Rec and Oconee United Soccer Club, and he's also a member of Troy Baptist Church. I'm recognizing Chris tonight because he's a hardworking student who is always smiling. He's a little nervous now, which is why he's not smiling. But the thing that's just the best thing about Chris is he always, just by his actions, he sets a great example for our younger students, and I'm always impressed with that. So this is Chris Singletary.
Mr. Norzan, you're going to send him to Walhalla to play for us next year.
I think he probably won't be there.
No, sir, you can't.
He's good. I asked Bob. He can give one, yeah. We got them. Sing left too. All right, now for our adults to recognize, we are going to recognize 3 outstanding adults, and that is our custodial crew. So Miss Andy and Robert and Daryl will come on up here. All right, I would like to introduce, and this is all absolutely legit. These are 3 of the finest people I've ever had the opportunity to work with. They're kind-hearted, caring. They have an absolute love for what they do. This is Miss Andy Cobb, Mr. Daryl Crane, he's the tall one, and Mr. Robert Orr. They have one of the most important jobs in our school, and that's to keep our school safe, clean, and running smoothly. They come to school every single day with a smile and a desire to please people. They are always smiling. That's the thing. They are always smiling, and they work so well with each other. One of the things we talk about all the time at school is having a positive climate, and you cannot be around them and not feel better after you leave. Sometimes I just have meetings with them just so I can feel better about the school day. Even though they have a set plan for what they have to do every day, being a custodian, you are always on call. And when something happens, they just immediately take care of it. And I've gotten to where when I ask them or have something that I want them to do that's not necessarily something that's immediate, I'll always preface what I'm saying by saying something like, I've got something I want you to do. It's not something that needs to be done now. It needs to be done for the next couple of weeks. I just want you thinking about it. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Mr. Orr, and I said, we've got a projector screen that I'd like to move to a different room. I want you thinking about which one would be better, how would it be better to be done, and we'll talk about it, in the next few days. 10 minutes later, he calls me on the radio, and he and Mr. Crane are already in the room. They haven't hung, and he wanted to make sure it was in the right spot. That's just what they do. Andy became a custodian halfway through the year, and she had been a bus driver, and we had a field trip planned, and as we had in the past, we asked Andy if she would drive for us, and she said yes, but I could tell she was a little bit uneasy about it, and her reason was she didn't want to leave Daryl, Mr. Crane, on the route by himself. And I just thought, man, for her to say that after only doing this job for a few weeks, but she did not want to leave Daryl doing it by herself, that was just special. And she flat told me, she goes, I will do it for you now. She goes, but in the past or in the future, I'd like not to do that because I don't want to leave him alone. I just thought that was just special, but that's just who they are. And I could tell you story after story after story of just how kind and pleasant and hardworking they are. But the thing that's probably the best compliment is every single time we have a new person come to our school, they always say great things, but the thing they always say without a doubt is how clean the school is and how good it looks. Always. That's what always is said every time before they leave is, wow, your school looks clean. They ask me how old it is, and I always tell them the same thing. And it's because of them. I mean, they're just outstanding people. And I just feel blessed to have the opportunity to work with them each and every day. Thank you, guys.
All right, this time we want to recognize some our hard workers in our technology department. They have, well, they always do, but it seems like the last couple of summers and beginning of schools and end of years and pretty much everything in between has been difficult. They are overworked and understaffed, and we understand that. But they have a lot of things. You really know it when the technology goes down. If the phones don't work, everybody calls and knows. If the internet doesn't work, oh my goodness gracious, it's like we can't go on anymore. Okay, so when something goes wrong, these folks get the call and they answer the bell every time, and we want to thank them, particularly for the hard work in the summer and as we have transitioned into starting school, but also for all the work year-round that they do. We have a great group, and we appreciate them, and we're going to call them up, and I'll let Dr. Thorson, I don't know what order you have them in, and I'm going to have Miss Williams help me out, give them a little token of our appreciation. All right, Josh Shepard. The elementary principal in me says you get lifesavers, because that's what your guys have been, so we appreciate that. Steve Burkhart. Sort of out of kilter here. Don Dixon. Don Dixon, you make the best cake in the world. We've all had it. Philip Price. Nick Williams. Shannon Broom, she's the one that keeps them all straight downstairs, but she was unable to attend tonight, so we'll get Shannon her stuff. And then my gentleman affectionately known as the Cable Guys, okay, Rod Winkler. We say that, and appreciate it. Ron knows that. Cable guy.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Jeremy Balls. We're gonna get pictures, but I want to tell you that we do appreciate what you do. We don't tell you enough, but we are thankful to have you guys with us and all that you do on a regular basis. We don't always notice it until something goes wrong and a switch goes out or lightning hits or whatever, but please know that we do appreciate the work and effort you put in on a daily basis and around the whole school year, and especially this past summer. It's been kind of tricky. Thank you.
And I'm going to add one thing that Mr. Hamby's doing. You all know that technology has always been located in the basement here. And there's just been talk that sometimes that kind of separates the technology staff from the rest of the district office staff. So Mr. Hamby's been working hard, and he's going to do some switching around with another office up here. And technology by the end of the month should be moving up to the first floor. And they'll be right over here in the same suite that Mr. Hamby's staff is.
Who are you sending to the basement?
Well, actually, we have some counseling from outside agencies. We have some counseling that goes on with our students, but it's not school district counselors. It's actually kind of working with the sheriff's office on some of the criminal investigations, different things like that. So that counseling group is going to move down to the basement. It's actually better for them because it's a little bit separated and quieter down there. So it works well, but we're happy that they're going to be joining us upstairs here soon.
And we keep talking about when we're gonna do it, and I tell them whenever we get closer to getting things caught up, and they're like, well, we'll never get the money. We're just gonna have to pick a day to do it. So, if I can get y'all in there, Dr. Olson, you get a little closer, you please. Nah, we can't leave. We gotta get you in these. All right, thank y'all. Thank you.
And while it's not on the agenda, I would like to recognize 4 more individuals who are here. I'm going to introduce you to TJ Galloway because he's the one that I know. TJ is a recent graduate who's now at Anderson, and he is studying to be a special ed teacher. And Ms. Williams and I were talking about it earlier. TJ is the kind of guy that I'm being serious. If he wanted to sign a contract for 3 years from now, we'd take it, because special ed is a position where we know we're going to have needs, and TJ is an outstanding young man. So we're glad to have him, and I'm going to let him introduce his classmates who are here.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Thornton, for having us tonight. With me, I've got Taylor Millis. She's an early childhood major. Greer Norton, also early childhood, and Emily Ann Ellis, who's also early childhood. So.
We'll probably have spots for them too. Graduate, so keep Oconee in mind.
So TJ was smart in his choice of major, so you can see who he gets to ride.
Glad to have y'all with us.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move on with the meeting. We need an approval of the October 10 work session agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the October 10, 2016 work session agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If I see anything, all in favor? It's unanimous. Next is public comment. And I think the thing you said we have.
We have one speaker tonight, and that will be Frankie Pearson. He will have 5 minutes for an individual slot.
I didn't want to be first, but since I'm lonely, I guess
You're gonna be last.
I'm last. Yes, I'm the last one. Mr. Thorson already knows pretty much what I've got to say. In lieu of the tragedy we had at Townville, I've been doing some research and checking. A lot of our counties in the state have resource officers in our elementary schools, but we don't. And I've talked to several parents. They feel that this district needs those officers. I've been told that resource officers are here to maintain a good relationship between the police and the students and the kids. But what better place to start that than elementary school, when we can teach our kids that the police are here to help us
and not, not be against us. And we need to start it at an early age, but also we need the protection. I've been in several elementary schools. I've volunteered at Westminster Elementary for 13 years. Miss Farmer will not let me leave. But, and I enjoy it. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I've noticed you go into the school, you get buzzed in the front door. Well, the front door is glass. That's a little protection, but not a whole lot. Then they've got doors that block you from going down the hall where the children are. Again, they're glass. It's not a hard thing to get through. If you get through the front door, which would be easy if you really wanted to get in there, you do away with the office staff, which is about 4 to 5 people. You go anywhere you want to in the school because you can just walk through the door and you got the whole building. We had an officer at that school that would be eliminated. He wouldn't get past the front door. Number one, the police car outside would probably be a deterrent for most, and lack of a better word, idiots that would want to harm our 6-year-olds, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I don't understand why anybody would want to go into an elementary school and start harming our babies. I have no kids in school, but I have 600 grandkids in elementary school at Westminster Elementary. They all call me either Guppy or Grandpa. And I just feel that we need these officers. We need to stop building buildings. We need to stop, my personal opinion, we need to stop repairs, and unless it's just mandatory that the building's leaking, it needs it or whatever. But we need to focus on these resource officers. We have 11 or 10, is it 10 elementary schools? We've done some figuring. I've already talked to the guys across the street and chewed them a new one about this, about coming up with some money. I've done talked to the sheriff. He's all for it. But we just need to get this done, and it doesn't need to linger on 2 or 3 years. It needs to happen this year. This school year. And these officers don't need to just sit in the office. I go by the middle school regularly, and I don't know about the new officer we got there now, but the old one, I never seen a man outside the building. That's where we need him, going out and looking around the building, not just sitting in the office talking to the principal or the secretary or whatever's in there. He needs to get out and do some legwork. He could stop something before it even happened. But we also need to protect these officers in a way to where, and I hate to use the key like the old J.P. Stevens Mill used, but we need somewhere where they can be recorded where they went around the building. That protects them when a parent comes up, well, my child got hurt so-and-so, where was you at? Sitting in the office. No, ma'am, I was right here at this spot. This is where before your child or after your child got hurt. It gives a record to show the parents that he was outside the building, checking the perimeter of the building, making sure everything was safe out there. But I notice you have it on your agenda tonight, and I really do appreciate y'all talking about it. We just need to get it done and not wait around for 2 or 3 years. It needs to be done, as soon as possible. Maybe we can stop some of this idiots. That's the only word I can come up with. When you go into an elementary school, it's just idiots. But, the Townville thing, I don't think a resource officer could have stopped that. He would have been up maybe in the front. This all happened in the back. But that's why I want these officers out and walking the perimeter of these buildings. If it's raining or snowing, I can understand, but it don't hurt them to walk around the building if it's 90 degrees. They do it at home. They do it, if they were on the road, they'd do it. So we need to come up with some kind of thing to where they have to walk around the building, and we need some way of keeping a record of where they are at any particular time, where it sort of protects them as well. But I appreciate you thinking about it tonight and talking about it, but please don't let us linger on. We need to get it done as soon as possible. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you being with us. And then with that, we'll move on to Dr. Thorsland, Superintendents Report.
And if you'll let me go out of order, we can just stay on this topic and move the elementary school resource officers discussion to right now, if that's okay. I do want to thank Sheriff for being here with us tonight, Kevin for coming as well. Steve and I met with them last week, and we did discuss this because, of course, with the shooting at Townville, that it's put a lot of anxiety and concern in many of our parents and maybe even students to some degree. Certainly some of our teachers had some concerns following that. And we have talked about a lot of the very things that Mr. Pearson talked about. A school resource officer is there to provide security and safety at the school, and I do think the presence of a car helps with that. Certainly a school resource officer will be able to respond quickly should there ever be an event like that in our schools. It would, I would say, definitely minimize the amount of damage an individual could do. I don't know that a school resource officer could have changed what happened at Townville. Maybe could have apprehended it a little quicker, but it seems like things happened fairly quickly down there and the kids were outside. But that's not to say, you know, maybe in the Newtown shooting a few years ago, it may have changed things there. So I'm not sure. But we do feel like Officer Mulwee is stretched thin. Just so everybody knows where we are right now, we do have officers at our 3 high schools. We have officers at our 3 middle schools. And we have one, and those are funded through the school district budget. They're employees of the sheriff's office or local police departments, but we pay for their salaries through our budget. So we essentially just contract, I guess, with the sheriff's office or the police departments. Officer Mulwee, who's our elementary school resource officer, is funded through the sheriff's office budget. I believe that's still correct. And he is a one-man show serving 10 elementary schools. So I think the way it works out now, he goes to each elementary school for half a day in a normal week. So a 5-day week, he's at every elementary school for a half a day. And that's probably not enough. Andrea, can I share your story from?
Sure.
Andrea Toussaint is a parent from elementary school students, and we spoke on the phone this afternoon, and she had a funny story with her son, Quinn. His little sister made the comment she wanted to be a police officer when she grew up, and Quinn